My name is Ben, and today we have the growth marketer, Mr. Liam from Splinterlands. What's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
Dude, it is so exciting to talk to you because I feel like you have tapped into a part of the market of growth marketing that most people have no idea what the fuck they're doing. So very excited to get to chat with you today. Would love to hear a little bit about your background and how you really got into this world of growth marketing and crypto, and would love to really hear some background to maybe catch us up to where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So I think on a kind of professional background, I've been kind of marketing for the past 10 or so years. Initially got started on more so the analytics and data side of things. And just by chance, it happened one day that a lot of our digital marketing team ended up leaving at a previous company. So I ended up taking it over. It was a kind of like $10 million annual spend at that time, really just tossed into the deep end. From there, I love of marketing. Really kicked off on just kind of advertising initially, and then that grew into SEO and more like wider SEM plays and everything there. And from that, it just kind of grew into the broader growth marketing, and now it's just taken over to Splinterlands, which has been amazing. And then for more of the, I guess, personal side of things, I've been gaming professionally for quite a while. So I started with Counter-Strike back in the Source in 1.6 days, went over to Counter-Strike Go and did some coaching and everything there, and then have recently moved over more towards League of Legends and all that side of things. So helping coach some challenger scenes there. But otherwise, Splinterlands has been absolutely awesome. I was a big kind of trading card game player and collector my entire life. So being able to work in the TCG space is great. And then just as a whole kind of crypto background, it's awesome too. I had a big growing pain or learning experience, as I'm sure many people did with the whole Bitcoin fad. I bought in super early, which was great, but I sold way too early, which was not so great. But I mean, that's the whole learning process. Just really cool to be here in the industry now.
Okay, quick question for you, because I too have spent a ridiculous amount of time playing League. What role did you play, and who are your champs?
Yeah, so I'm a jungle main. I peaked Grandmaster last season. Actually, I'm sitting in Diamond right now, but was a big no lifer for League for a long time. Pretty much just stick to jungling. If you put me anywhere else, I'm running it down.
Okay, I too am a fellow jungler. Definitely not as good as you. I think my highest is plat. So definitely you would definitely counter jungle me. It would just, you'd have fun. I probably would. But what was your who's your main champ? What was your champ pool looking like?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's mainly assassins right now. So Viego is kind of, I one-tricked Viego for a little bit.
So fun.
Yeah, Hecarim's being super strong right now, so he's kind of like the one exception to the rule. But otherwise, Kha'Zix, I mean, all the solo queue champs, Kha'Zix and Viego, so on and so forth. There are the go-tos.
I love it. Why did jungle appeal to you? Why was that what really drew you to or the role that you were drawn to?
Yeah, so I initially started as an ADC main, and then just decided that I was getting run down way too much, and didn't like the dying as much, and wanted to be the guy rather making the ADCs miserable instead. So took over there, but it was also nice. I mean, I think the whole management style of jungling fits my play style a lot more, as opposed to kind of sticking in lane and having to look at like wave management and lane management and everything. I'd rather just kind of run amok around the entire map and do my own stuff and make everyone miserable. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, I love that. I really feel like it's so interesting that so many of us in crypto have actually come from a background of gaming. Why do you think that is?
I think it's that weird acceptance. So a lot of my childhood, I guess, at least, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but for me, it was my parents just being like, "Oh, get off the computer, stop doing that, stop doing that." And it was just like, no, this is the future. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And me being that guy who's not super educated yet in elementary school and high school, it's just like, this is going to be great. I'm going to be a professional gamer. And I mean, lo and behold, it actually kind of ended up happening, but not in the the way that I intended it to. But I think that whole going against the grain of just understanding what the next up and coming items or industry verticals are, has been that constant stream and theme, I guess, throughout the gamers to blockchain and everything else. And I think just the whole technology knowledgeable side of things is super kind of agnostic to gamers, which is makes it easier to jump into that lane.
So I've been thinking about this a lot. Do you think, because obviously the technology, like, you have to not be an idiot with a computer to be able to play a computer game for the most part. Although some people in bronze make me question that a little bit. But but like I think part of it too is for anybody who's actually like a gamer that doesn't completely just suck ass, like there is a meta that you do learn and you understand and you kind of adapt to the changes that happen in a game, especially one like League that's changing pretty rapidly all the time. And if you don't adapt, then you could be in a lot of trouble. And so maybe it's that part where we're always like looking for what the next meta is and looking for the game and trying to understand it, very, which is very much crypto. But then even from like a game perspective, like you don't want to play a game that nobody else is playing. And so almost like looking at new games, evaluating what's fun, what's not, that's kind of like evaluating projects and then getting involved with the community, the other players. Like to me, there's just a lot of synonymous activities that we've almost been training for this and preparing for this our whole lives.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it even translates into Hearthstone too. And it was hilarious. I was talking to, we just had our town hall before this meeting, but I was talking to Matt, who's our CPO and one of our co-founders, and I didn't realize he had actually done a lot of work with Dan Brody, who helped out with Hearthstone a whole bunch before this. But a lot of all the design and all those skills and how we look at meta, that's all valued into every single game that we play. And even in crypto, I mean, started out as just kind of like you look at Bitcoin as more of just a token, and then how does that token then gain utility, and how does the meta change in that sense, which is really cool. But for the game itself, it's also sweet. I mean, for people who are unfamiliar with Splinterlands, we're a trading card game where what I like to describe as the love child between Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. It's really all of the physical aspects of a trading card game like Magic put into more of a digital space and played out similar to how Hearthstone does it. But the cool thing is it's an auto battler. So, I mean, you're familiar with League, so I'm sure you've kind of played a few games of TFT, Teamfight
Of
Tactics.
course, of course.
It almost borrows elements from that too, where you're setting your lineup. So you get a rule set at the start of every single game. You have 3 minutes to make your hand, and it'll be like, hey, you have 30 mana, and each one of your different cards has a different mana cost to it. And you also have a summoner that has different abilities that will apply to your cards, and so on and so forth there. So you have to assemble your team within the 3 minutes. You press play, and then depending on how you've actually stacked up your lineup, the autoplay will play it out in different ways and kind of determine who's going to win there. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into everything. And as we release new card packs and as everything happens, the meta is going to shift. And so, I mean, it's just awesome to see any of these competitive games in the scene right now, how versatile it's becoming and how esports are really fostered from that, just in a sense of, hey, the meta is always going to change. So you're never going to just be doing the exact same thing and watching the exact same champions for League or the exact same cards for Hearthstone or Splinterlands or anything get played out, which is cool.
I love that. And I think on that note, I was looking on DApp Radar the other day, and of all the DApps, all the categories for top blockchain DApps, Splinterlands is number 2 out of everything. That is incredible.
For sure. And yeah, we bounce between 1 and 2. It's us and PancakeSwap that are normally rivaling each other. And funny enough, we're on PancakeSwap too, but they're kind of altcoin exchange listing exchange there. They're been awesome to work with and super cool guys running the show there. The project has been amazing from their side. But yeah, from a blockchain gaming perspective, it's been awesome. We're running anywhere between kind of like 350,000 to 500,000 daily active users right now. The buy-in's been super incredible. The community itself has been, I think, the biggest contributing factor, not even so much in terms of the people playing the game on a daily basis, but just in terms of how much feedback, in terms of how much guidance, and in terms of how much input the community has on how the game goes forward. And I think a lot of that's going to shape up into SPS DAO, which is going to be a new DAO that we're going to be creating against our governance token There's $4.5 million or so in tokens in the DAO right now, and based on how much people are staking SPS, again, our governance token is a weighted value against the larger aggregate SPS being staked as a whole. You're going to have a say in how that gets governed. If you want to burn that, we can burn it. If you want to distribute the tokens, you can do that. It's going to be like the first of its kind in gaming to really help figure out how the company moves forward with the users really being the driving factor for a lot of that. So going to be super cool to see, and just awesome to see how blockchain technology can loop in with gaming to really foster a new wave of those video games.
That is an unbelievably cool vision for the future. And I think what we should all be trying to learn from you is, how the hell do we get hundreds of thousands of daily active users? Like, what's the strat? What were the growth hacks that that you implemented?
Yeah, I mean, more so than anything else, I don't even think it was necessarily like a marketing play or a huge growth hack from like a paid perspective or anything. It was just making users the true value to our game. In the true play to earn fashion, it's hey, you're gonna come in, you're gonna spend some money on like a spell book or getting card packs, and as return, we want to make sure that we're rewarding you. So we're doing daily airdrops right now. Two different airdrops. One is how much SPS you have staked, so how much of a governance token you have staked. That's just like a ongoing number that ticks up real time every second. You can claim that and then restake that money. You can cash out. You can do whatever you want with it. And then the other different airdrop that we're doing right now is just based on assets. So the amount of card packs you have or collection power from those card packs, which are just determined by the individual cards that you unbox from them. The amount of land, the amount of dark energy crystals, which is our more like in-game token that we're looking to kind of more peg the price of. So that's not going to be super volatile. But yeah, it's that was the main driving force there. It was just like, how can we make people the value, and how can we make sure that people are getting value out of the game? And that was the biggest thing for us. Once that happened, I think it was kind of 3 years in the making to become an overnight success. And last July, we started really taking off after years and years of trying. And it's been going gangbusters ever since. And I think now it's getting to the point where we can look back and say, hey, we've got the player base, we've got everything really sorted in terms of foundation. How do we really start building on that? And I mean, today we actually just released a announcement with Warner Music Group. So part of that's going to be helping like build a new game with them and do all that stuff. So they're going to be helping fund an entirely new team. The Splinterlands team is going to stay on the Splinterlands project, but we're going to be continuing that over to a new game. And we want to make sure that like the Splinterlands people, the people who are holding assets in Splinterlands, still have some buy-in to this new game. So it's not just, oh, hey, we're going to ditch the old community. This is the new shiny object now. It's how do we make sure that all of our games, all of the different IPs that we're going to be building in the future, and all the different communities that we're building are really strung together in this cohesive ecosystem, which I think is really cool. But yeah, there's been some great partnerships coming out of this. I mean, Warner Music was one. We're doing a Waka Flocka dual utility card drop tomorrow. And so that's going to be in the game, it's going to be a summoner, and then out of game, it's a whole like fashion NFT that you can hold in a wax wallet. And you can also have a little QR code that you scan that's going to take it over to Snapchat as a AR filter for you to use in Snapchat. I mean, it's blockchain, it's gaming. The world is just full of possibilities at this point, to sound super cliche, but it's been an awesome ride so far.
That's incredible. So I really want to dig in more to this idea of bringing value to the players. Is kind of the dream or the goal to have people be able to play full time and be able to like eventually quit your job, go all in on Splinterlands, and like this is your career should you choose? Or is it kind of a different way where it's just part of what they're doing? Like what's really the goal there, or like the underlying, like this is what we're optimizing for?
Yeah, so Splinterlands right now, I think it's we're seeing a lot of people kind of log in, they'll do their daily missions, they'll collect their SPS and restake it and do all that stuff. I think we're going to want to change that a little bit in the future to reward continued gameplay. And so going to back to your question, we absolutely want to foster that environment where people can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to work my 9 to 5 anymore. I'm just going to go play Splinterlands all day. That being said, we don't want to make it like a grindy game where you have to play 10 hours to really get the value. It's kind of, we want to incentivize it. And that's something we're actually working on in the future as to how do we make it where people who want to come in and just do their 30 minutes of daily missions can do that and still get their reward. And the people who want to play 10, 12 hours a day and make it a job can also do that too. And so a lot of that's going to be dependent on the, I guess, upcoming changes. It's going to be not too near future where this all happens, but that's really the overarching mission. And I think Aggie, who's our co-founder, the other co-founder alongside Matt that I had mentioned earlier, he gets messages all the time where it's like, oh, hey, I've just paid off my mom's mortgage, or I just bought my mom a car and bought my house and blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Splinterlands. Or even to like other scales, it's just like, I don't have to sleep on the floor anymore. I bought myself a bed. I bought myself this house. Like, it's really cool to see what the game can do for the community. And I mean, that's just like, it's obviously the heartwarming stuff, but that's what drives us, man. Like that's the stories that you really want to help kind of pursue as a company here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's just such a refreshing take on the world, like a refreshing thing to see in the world is that now you can't say get off your computer, go get a real job, because games, you can actually earn with games. You can actually build a career in games without having to be like an entrepreneur or a founder of a game or a game studio, or like you could be a gamer, and this is a better time than ever to be a full-time gamer, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, I think sometimes we get a little caught up in like, oh, price go up, price go down, blah blah blah. But like we kind of forget like how far we've really come as a gaming community. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, moreover than that, we're seeing guilds start to become a huge business now. And those are just kind of operations within games where you have one guild leader who's buying up a lot of assets in the game and then deploying them to a ton of scholars. I mean, we see it in Splinterlands. Axie is probably the most notorious game for guilds, and they really started building an entire system around guilds because that's where they figured out all this value was. So not only is it a game where players can come in and kind of play this awesome game and one, just have fun doing it, but two, make some money doing it. It's like these actual businesses. I mean, you look at Balthazar or YGG or Avocado or any of those big guilds. They're making a living off it, and they're able to employ teams of hundreds of scholars as well as kind of like internal employees around it. So it's super awesome to see how this entire, I guess, like what started out with one Bitcoin and turned into a gaming environment that turned into an entire ecosystem can help breed all these different possibilities and then also just employment opportunities for a lot of the people.
Absolutely. I know we're getting close to time here. Bit of a shorter episode today, folks. But really want to understand you personally. Like, where do you want to go with your career? Obviously, you're doing ridiculous things, pretty early on. Where do you really see yourself going? Like, what's the goal for Liam?
Yeah, I mean, I think goal for me is just get more and more knowledgeable about blockchain. I had again some experience with Bitcoin and stuff in the past, but Splinterlands was my first really diving into the deep end with anything blockchain related, DApp related. So I think first and foremost for me is I just want to become as educated as possible. Like I don't see myself decoupling with Splinterlands anytime soon. I think what's in the future for me is how do we build Splinterlands not only into this kind of big gaming company, but into an entire enterprise. Like we see what we're doing with Warner. We see what we're doing with some of these other companies that we're going to be kind of trying to partner with in the future. It's just how do we make this into the next biggest thing? Do we spin this into a whole animated series similar to what Arcane was or the Dota series was? Do we want to build like a comic book series out of it? And I think the coolest thing for me is just getting to experience all these different mediums of, I guess, marketing for one, but just growth in as a whole in a company for things that I haven't done before. Because I've been stuck with a lot of e-commerce and like SaaS startups in my prior history, and so for me to be able to jump more into the gaming space where my true passion is, and then two, to be able to talk to these huge names, whether it's Warner or Waka or whoever else, it's just really exciting. So I think for me, it's just how do we keep growing this thing, and really what's next for Splinterlands, and how do we grow it outside of just a blockchain gaming company to how do we become this huge like media conglomerate as a whole?
That's amazing. Well, I know you're a busy man, so I just want to say thank you so much for taking some time out to come chat on the show. And yeah, where should the people go? Which should be our next step or call to action?
Yeah, so if you want to play the game, it's just splinterlands.com. You can come try it out for free. You don't need to purchase anything to get in. If you do want to get hooked up with a spellbook code, feel free to DM me if anyone's watching this right now that's interested in the game. You can join our Discord at just the general discord.com/invite/Splinterlands. When you come into Splinterlands for me, you'll see chatter in the top right. Feel free to send me a DM. I can help you get a free spellbook code and get organized there, just as a little thank you for watching this episode. But otherwise, we're just at Splinterlands on Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. Come check us out. We'd love to have you in the community.
Amazing. You're the man. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming on the show. Everybody watching and listening, thank you all very much. And I will see you all